Takrade, Bono region Greener FM 95.9 in Sunyani, Ashanti region Orange FM 107.9 in Kumasi, Volta region Akpeni Radio 96.7 in Kando, Heritage FM 107.3 in Hohoi, Northern region we are live on Dasuma FM 99.1 in Yendi, Upper East Word FM 88.3 in Zwarungu, Upper West Westlink FM 88.1 in Laura, and Northeast region we are live on Eagle FM 94.1 in Wale Wale.
Citi Prime News at 12 midday. Update you on all the running stories and connect you to the newsmakers.
We are grateful for choosing us. Let's start the bulletin from the Savannah region, where a driver has been arrested by the Damongo Police Command in connection with disturbances that led to the shooting of one person yesterday in Damongo. This brings to 9 the number of suspects or persons arrested in Bupe for their role in the destruction of houses of some non-indigents at Mande, a suburb of Bupe. The driver reportedly drove some protesters to the police station yesterday. Though calm has returned to the Savannah regional capital after the protesting youth besieged the Damongo police station and the palace of the Yagbonra yesterday to demand the release of the arrested persons, the youth say the worst may happen if reports of plans by the police to arrest the national PRO of the Gunja Land Youth Association is carried through. Yakubu Jaga is the youth chief of the Damongo traditional area.
If we are calling for peace, there's no need arresting our PRO. Immediately they arrest the PRO, they will escalate the whole issue. So we are pleading to them that anybody like the politicians, the chiefs who are behind this issue should rescind their decision. Otherwise, what will happen, nobody knows. The fact is, we are peace-loving youth and we want to calm down things. We have asked all the youth members to exercise patience so that we'll see how we can bring back the 8 people they arrested. But it's like they want to escalate issues by arresting more people, like our PRO. So we are of the view that we are pleading with all the politicians that are behind it. If they want peace, then they should not attempt arresting our PRO. So that is the message we have for them. We are not going to do anything until towards the peace of Savannah region. But if they arrest our PRO, we shall not sit out. So we are appealing to Nana Akufo-Addo that he should step his foot down and ask those politicians and the IGP to rescind his decision. Because we are told that IGP ordered that they should arrest our PRO. So we are appealing to all members of parliament that they should talk to the IGP to rescind this decision.
You had Yakubu Jaga, who is the youth chief of the Damongo traditional area. Let's go over to the Savannah region and speak to my colleague in that region, Richard Fogo, for more. Good afternoon to you, Richard. Thanks for your time. Tell us the current security situation in Bupe.
Bupe is relatively calm, and so is Damongo, the regional capital, where the shooting incident happened yesterday. I'm currently at the police station where the driver is being held. The youth leadership came and tried to bail him, but the police have not been able to do that yet. They said they are yet to take his treatment. But the police station is calm. There are just about, I can see, just about 5 people who are just coming out of the police station, all in efforts to get the driver released on bail. Earlier on, I was at the Yagbonra's Palace, and the military detachment that were deployed there last night has been withdrawn, and there's absolutely calmness in that palace as well. There's nobody there. Unfortunately, we've not been able to get any official statement or communication from the Yagbonra's Palace or the Gunja Traditional Council or the Savannah Regional House of Chiefs. Neither do we have any official statements from the police as well. What I understand is that the 8 that were arrested yesterday have been taken to Tamale, where they have been held in custody on behalf of the Savannah Regional Police Command. Those were all measures taken to bring calm, because the police believe if they keep the suspect here, then the youth will continue to agitate, believing that they can be released from this place. So at the moment, the Savannah region is relatively calm, though the youth are still agitating because there are reports that the police has ordered the arrest of the PRO of the Gonjaland Youth Association, one Mr. Muftahu Habibu. And that news is not something that this youth want to countenance. And so, as we heard the youth chief of Damango speaking there, with him were some of the agitating youth, including the branch chairman of the association here in Damango. They are saying that if the PRO is arrested, things will escalate, and they will not sit aloof and allow that to happen. So they are calling authorities to intervene, and if what they are hearing is true, that decision should be rescinded.
Fuko, what's the crime of the driver who we understand has been arrested by the police?
Okay, so yesterday, whilst the police were holding the 8 here at the police station, and the youth began massing up to protest and demand the release of the suspects, the driver, I'm told, drove some protesters to the police station. So after the protesters got down, the driver was later arrested by the police. That was after the 8 suspects had been taken out of the police station.
Very well. So now we have 9 suspects. Where are they currently?
So 8 of them are currently in Tamale, where they are being held, and the 9th, which is the driver, is being held here at the Damango police station. But yesterday, when the suspects were being taken to Tamale, the vehicle knocked down a rider in a village called Telape, about 15 minutes drive from Damango. The suspect, the victim, or the man who was knocked down, was killed on the spot. The body was brought to the police station and later moved to the St. hospital morgue, where the body is being kept while investigations continue.
What has been the response of the Yagbonria since this incident happened from last night?
Unfortunately, we've not had any response from the Yagbonria. Personally, he hasn't spoken, and his office is closed. There's nobody in the office. I was there yesterday evening. This afternoon, I've been there, and the office is closed. The registrar and the deputy, we don't know where they are. They've all left the office, and it's locked. You can't get any response from them. And so that is one of the challenges. But of course, what we understand, all these advices are from the security, because the youth is angry at the traditional establishment, because they believe the whole issue is about chieftaincy. And so they want more from the traditional authority. And so the leadership of the authority also have to seek safety before they can address whatever the impasse is.
Very well, grateful for your time. That was my colleague in the Savannah region, Richard Fogo. Please keep safe. We'll come to you subsequently when you have more information for us. Quickly will bring us our next story.
And in more stories, the Ghana Revenue Authority, GRA, has indicated that 17 oil marketing companies failed to pay their rescheduled debts amounting to 69 million Ghana cedis in 2019. The GRA, however, says 30 million Ghana cedis has been recovered, with 35 million Ghana cedis of the total debt outstanding. Appearing before the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament, the Commissioner General of the GRA, Reverend Dr. Amishadao Owusu Amwa, says some of the defaulting OMCs have been hauled before the court for prosecution.
Mr. Chairman, as at the time of reporting, we have recovered 30 million from these OMCs. And then we did some reconciliation with the auditors. And we also noticed that about 2.9 million was an overstatement for the debt of Venus Oil. So that also reduce the total outstanding. The current total outstanding is 35 million. And those who have paid, 8 OMCs have paid their debts in full. And then the others that are outstanding, they have also been cheated, as I had mentioned earlier on. Some of them are in court for prosecution, and then the others have also been investigated for prosecution in court.
What is the likelihood of GRA recovering these debts from OMCs?
Mr. Chairman, it's highly likely, because what we are doing is that this is criminal prosecution. So, and we have actually set up a special court for side defaulters. Now, when you go through the process, initially they will grant the OMC, or for that matter the defaulter, if he says, give me time to settle, and the settlement agreement is reached. And then if he doesn't pay, then it moves on to the criminal prosecution, where either he have to go to prison or any other action that the judge will prefer. And once this is done, you see in the Ghanaian community, everybody will mobilize to come and see how they can help there and sort it out. So that's what we are doing. We are leaving no stone unturned to ensure that these debts are paid.
So you heard that the Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Reverend Dr. Amishadao Owusu Amoah.
Now, Citi News has cited a letter by the founder and leader of the Lighthouse Chapel International, Bishop Doug Hayward Mills, resigning as a member of the Board of Trustees for the National Cathedral project. The letter details his reasons for resigning in August last year, including his dissatisfaction with the lack of clarity in the cost of the project. My colleague Caleb Kuda has some document in his possession and joins us in studio. Good afternoon to you, Caleb. Thanks for your time.
Good afternoon.
I see you have two documents in front of you. Which documents are these?
So first, I have a 4-page document under the letterhead of the Ghana Charismatic Bishops Conference. This was dated on the 22nd of June 2022. And then I have one dated 14th August 2022. And the letterhead for this one is simply Doug Hayward Mills. And this one has details of his resignation from the National Cathedral Board of Trustees.
So let's start with his letter to the Cathedral, the
Board of Trustees. Yes.
Yeah. What does this say? That this is a 4-page document.
4-page document entitled Completion of the National Cathedral. So from the introduction, we get to learn that this is about his 4th letter he had written to the Board of Trustees. The first was on 2nd October 2018. That's the very first, and the second was on the 4th of December 2018, same year. His third letter was dated 26th April 2021, before the 4th, which is the 22nd of June 2022. And so the 5th, which he authored on the 14th of August 2022, becomes his resignation letter. And in this, he details his concerns and his suggestions as to how things could be made better.
Let's start with the 4th one before we come to the resignation, which is on the completion of the National Cathedral. Tell us more in that part.
Right. So when I read this, I summarized his concerns in structure and cost. So some of the structural concerns, I'm just going to read verbatim for you and our listeners to appreciate. So over here, he says, when the role and responsibility of the Board of Trustees is clear, it will enable all of us to function expertly and excellently in defense of this project. As things stand today, we cannot explain many of the questions that are being asked in the press. Indeed, the National Cathedral is in danger of being used as a tool for political fights between the political forces in the nation. I do not think any members of the Board of Trustees would like to find themselves caught in the crossfire between our political parties. Still on structural issues, there's a point I'd like to read. It says, a purely governmental council for the National Cathedral will also be helpful. As of now, it is clear that the government is actually taking huge decisions concerning the cathedral and not the trustees. It would be good for us going forward to have a governmental council whose identity can be known to all and who can answer questions on behalf of the government. It may be recalled that I asked Sir David Ajayi at a trustees meeting whether he had received a contract from the government to build the National Cathedral. I asked him if he had received a contract in the same way that someone who would receive a governmental contract to build a dam or a bridge, and he answered that indeed he had such a contract with the government of Ghana. He said he had a contract to build the National Cathedral from the government. Clearly, this is not a contract from the trustees. We, the trustees, did not therefore give him any contract and will be unable to explain issues to do with the payment of monies to the cathedral. The trustees therefore cannot answer most questions about money used for the cathedral, and it would be unfair to ask them to do so. A government council on the National Cathedral is essential going forward. So over here, he had concerns with the structure of things, how the government was awarding contracts, and it was being passed as though the Board of Trustees knew about it. And at a point in one of the letters, he mentioned that the Board of Trustees were told not to answer questions to the press, but for one person. And he says that clearly showed that the Board of Trustees were not in control, and decisions taken by the government
instead of the board
cannot be passed on to the public as though they knew about it. So in terms of structure, these are some of the concerns that he raised. And even in the resignation letter, we get to see that he wasn't offered a letter indicating that he's a member of the Board of Trustees. It was just a verbal communication that came from the president, and that had gone on for about 6 years, and it wasn't rectified. However, when you come to the cost of the project, he does indicate that, and I'm reading verbatim, the cost of the National Cathedral project should be completely overhauled. Instead of building at $350 million, I suggest that the cathedral should be built at a fraction of this cost. You recall that I pointed out that many of the huge projects in Ghana, including Villaggio, the EcoBank headquarters, Jubilee House, the Ministry of Defense, Airports Terminal 3, the National Theatre, One Airport Square, and Accra Mall have been built at a fraction of the amount we are quoting for the cathedral. From my experience in building, we can still build the cathedral at a fraction of the cost. So this is relating to the cost. And then he goes on to detail some activities that took place that he thought didn't go well. For example, the fundraising ceremony for the National Cathedral. He says, I do believe that the fundraising methods we have adopted have not yielded much. Indeed, some of the programs we have held have cost more than the monies we have raised from them. I suggest another form of fundraising where we would be guaranteed more donations from denominations, churches, individuals, businessmen, and corporate bodies. I'll be happy to discuss these if the committee is interested in that. So that's with the fundraising, where he was alarmed that some of the events that were organized to raise funds for National Cathedral, the money spent for the organization of the event itself was more than what was realized for the cathedral. Then he talks about the need to adjust strategy and build the National Cathedral. He says, I'm a firm believer in the president's vision. I believe that the public can see and is questioning the fact that we have spent almost 6 years since the sword cutting of this project, as well as over $30 million of public funds to excavate a massive pit in the center of the city. I do believe that many of the questions that are being asked and at the National Cathedral project are reasonable and legitimate questions by objective citizens who just want answers to their questions. Then he goes on to say, let me just read this part quickly. The right response to some of the questions being asked would be for us to adjust our strategy so we can achieve our goal of building a national cathedral even in these difficult times. Continuing to pay contractors $40,000 a month as we wait to procure a huge loan in this hostile atmosphere sounds dicey to me. I do believe that almost 6 years down the line, we need to look at the different approach to achieve our goal of building God's house in Ghana. So this is the fourth letter,
which was on the 22nd of June
last year, under the Ghana Charismatic Bishops Conference letterhead. Now on the 14th of August, that's when the resignation comes.
So what does this resignation letter entail?
Great. So over here, then he summarizes most of the concerns he has had over the period in the letters he had written. And on point 4 of the first page of the resignation letter, he says that you may recall I've spoken passionately and written extensively about the costs, design, location, fundraising, mobilization of the churches, and the role of the trustees. These, if heeded to, would have made our project more achievable. And then he goes on to say, generally speaking, my inputs, my opinions, and my letters have been trivialized and set aside. So over here, he also speaks about the president's verbal appointment of himself, of the project, onto the projects, and which I had mentioned earlier. So I'd quickly just jump onto another point where he brings in more detail about the finances of the National Cathedral. If that's okay.
Go ahead.
Great. It says the decision to get a quantity surveyor to cost this project was not taken by the trustees. I know of David Ajayi as the architect, but I do not know of any independent quantity surveyor who costed the design of the architect. The cost of the project is determined by the quantity surveyor, whose work would then be challenged or accepted by the client and lead to some modification of the design. I do not know of any consultant quantity surveyor ever presenting the cost of the design given by Mr. David Ajayi for analysis. To my knowledge, no quantity surveyor has priced this project and presented it to trustees for approval or vetting. I am unaware and therefore not involved in how the price of the project has kept changing at different times and being presented to and accepted by the trustees. I am unaware of and not involved in the decision that a biblical garden and museum should be added to the project, resulting in a massive price change to the project. More details here. I am unaware of how the cost of the gardens and the Bible Museum were arrived at. As a trustee, I equally read in the news of many issues concerning the National Cathedral, and I am as surprised as the public about many facts. The fact that trustees do not know what is going on is affirmed by the fact that at a point we were asked not to answer questions about the National Cathedral to the press, and only one person was supposed to speak to the press. If we are trustees who are managing the business of the cathedral, how come we cannot reasonably answer any questions concerning the cathedral? Indeed, it is because we truthfully do not know much about what is happening that we were told not to answer questions to the press. And there is a point here where he talks about the changing cost of the project. I'm sure you're interested in that.
Tell me more.
Okay. So some news reports put the estimated cost at $100 million in 2019. In 2021, this same project was estimated to cost $200 million. Another board member told the media that the estimated cost of the construction was $200 million in 2021. Then in June this year,
that's last year.
Last year, yes. It was said on GTV that the estimated cost was $350 million US. Then the lawyer for the Italian firm Rizzani di Echa mentioned that it cost. Okay, this one, the figure didn't come. Then again, in an interview with Legal 100, a website that publishes analysis of the capabilities of law firms around the world, Simone Bagnario, the lawyer said his legal team has been able to finalize a $400 million US contract for a cathedral project in Ghana. I am unaware and not involved in how the price of the project moved from an initial cost of $100 million to eventually becoming $400 million. So, quite an extensive and very, very detailed letter coming in from the
founder of Lighthouse Chapel
International.
Correct.
So he says, based on these, I have never participated in any decision to take a loan. There was a conversation about loan also for the National Cathedral, which he says he is fundamentally opposed to. He's not participated in any conversation or meeting that sought to negotiate with foreign companies for over $400 million, which is now being ascribed to them. And the idea about going for a loan for the National Cathedral, he was completely opposed to it. So he had sent a letter indicating his resignation as a member of the Board of Trustees for the National Cathedral.
Very well, grateful for your time. That was my colleague Caleb Kuda telling us more from a letter Citi News has intercepted, which was signed by the founder and leader of the Lighthouse Chapel International, Bishop Doug Harold Mills, resigning as a member of the Board of Trustees for the National Cathedral project. This is still the Citi Prime News on 97.3 Citi FM. Still to come, heads of some senior high schools in the country still struggling to feed students due to the inadequate supply of food items from the National Food Buffer Stock Company. We have details of that and other stories coming up shortly. Please stay with us.
Citi Prime News at 12 midday. Update you on all the running stories and connect you to the newsmakers.
Counting a population of over 1.4 billion people, a vast wealth of natural resources, and brilliant minds, welcome to Africa, where our collective prosperity is very much achievable. This is why the Africa Prosperity Network, under the auspices of the President of the Republic of Ghana and the African Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat, presents the Africa Prosperity Dialogues, dubbed the Kwewu Summit. From the 26th to the 28th of January 2023, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo will host some of his colleagues, heads of state, over 500 business leaders and social sector leaders on the continent and in the diaspora for the Africa Prosperity Dialogues. Themed AFCFTA from ambition to action, delivering prosperity through continental trade. Register at www.africaprosperitynetwork.com.
Citi Prime News at 12 midday. Update you on all the running stories and connect you to the newsmakers.
You're welcome back. The Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools, CHAS, says some schools across Ghana are still struggling to feed students due to inadequate food supply. The National Food Buffer Stock Company, which is in charge of disbursing food items to the respective schools, has come under pressure over the delay in disbursement process. Speaking to Citi News, President for CHAS, Reverend Father Steve Owusu-Setre, urged the National Food Buffer Stock Company to expedite the disbursement of food items to avert further challenges.
Some schools have received items when put together could not be used to feed the students. For example, yes, if you deliver beans, maize, rice, and maybe gari to a school, you don't expect the school to use those items to cook for the students. I hope you bear with me.
Yeah.
You are with me. Yeah, because you don't give me oil, no sugar. So I cannot use those items to feed the students. So there are some items, they should be delivered together. So if we say some items have been received and that the school should be able to cook, then it means that those items are items when you put together, combined, could be used to feed the students. But I speak to you now, some schools are finding it difficult to feed the students because the items received are some of these items combined cannot be used to feed the students. This is where we are. So in some regions, some schools are finding it very difficult to feed the students. And we are in touch with them to push them to go and do the needful, because without those items, we will not be able to feed the students.
Reverend Owusu-Setre also disclosed that schools are yet to receive arrears of feeding grants to ensure the smooth running of the schools.
The feeding grant, something has been given to us. We vacated with some arrears. You understand? We went to the market and bought on credit and fed our students, and school vacated last year. So we were pushing the ministry and the GES to give us the money to go and pay our creditors. The something level has been given to us. So we are still pushing for them to give the money to us to pay our creditors. That is what we are talking about. And apart from that, we have what we call recurrent money. That apart from the perishable, the money that we use to run the school, maintenance, stationery, examinations, and all that, those ones too are in arrears. So we are pushing for the money to be given to us.
Reverend Father Stephen Owusu-Setre is the president of the Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools.
Still on education, some continuing students of the University of Ghana who have been affected by the new accommodation directive by the management of the school on Monday night had to seek shelter on the corridors of the hall with others squatting with friends. The students were prevented from entering their hall of residence following a directive by the management of the school seeking to reassign male continuing students of Commonwealth and Mensa Saba halls to other halls of residence. During a visit by City News to the Commonwealth Hall after 9 p.m. on Monday, some of the stranded students were captured lying on the floor close to the entrance of the hall. In an interaction with City News, one of the affected students who spoke on condition of anonymity disclosed he has been seeking shelter at uncomfortable places like the washroom for the past 3 days.
Friday night, we didn't get a place to sleep. We were planning to come and sleep at Barritas, but it didn't work out because they changed us, the security men. So we ran through the bush and we went to the Catholic church, the washroom over there. We went there and we were sitting in the washroom, we were talking, trying to know where we sleep. We didn't get anywhere, so we slept in the washroom, in the toilet. Yes, we slept there. We were sitting on the toilet. It wasn't working out, so we slept on the floor. Yeah, so we woke up around 5 to 5:30, and then we left Saturday night. We didn't get any place to sleep. So we were just walking around. We went to the business school. There was nobody there. That was around 12 p.m. We slept over there. And then around 2 to 3 a.m., they came to sack us. We came to sleep at the sociology department. There's a paradise over there, Lover's Bench. So we slept there. That's around 3 a.m. It's like 6 a.m. trying to get a place to sleep. And then a friend of ours called us that, the roommates are not in J. Nelson. So we should come and spend the night there. So we went there and we spent the night in the room. And today, we're like, no, we can't keep on doing this. This week is an academic week. We need to study. We need to go for lectures. We need to bath very well. Because me, I've not changed my clothes to date. Yeah, I hid my clothes in the bush so that no one can find my clothes. So I've not changed the same boxer shorts till now. It's very, very sad. I can't afford the 4,000. I can't afford it. Because I take off myself.
So you heard there one of the affected University of Ghana students who says he has been seeking shelter at uncomfortable places like the washroom for the past 3 days.
Our police officers and their families who were occupying an apartment that was razed on Sunday at Apromasi in the Ashanti region have been relocated for temporary shelter. This was after the Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Ekufu-Dampare, said the administration was carrying out the evacuation to pave the way for an assessment of the facility. 35-year-old Sergeant Owusu Asante-Befi, attached to the anti-robbery unit of the Ghana Police Service, perished in the fire together with his wife and a 3-month-old baby. This morning, clinical psychologists engaged the other victims in a counseling session after they were left traumatized after the incident. Let's go over to the Ashanti region and speak to our correspondent there, Hafiz Tijani. Good afternoon to you, Hafiz, for your time. Where have these police officers been relocated to?
So we are told they've been relocated to a place at Krapa, but this is just temporary so that the assessment can be done as said by the IGP yesterday to ensure that the place is safe for the police officers to return. And, the IGP also mentioned yesterday that his administration was going to deploy some counseling, some clinical psychologists to counsel the victims, and that is being done. So the victims who were coming back to take some of their items at the facility at Apromasi were engaged by these clinical psychologists who we told came from Accra this morning, and they are heading to Krapa where the officers have been taken to live there temporarily before a permanent place can be found for them, or before they can do the assessment and let them come back to this place. But you find also police officers guarding the place, and the place has also been cordoned off so that it can give the fire officers and other police officers who assist in the investigation the free way to be able to carry out the investigation. So when you go there, the issue is so topical, and you still find a bit of trauma and worry on the faces of these victims who have been affected in this incident. But most of them say they can only cope because that has happened. They have to put everything behind them and move forward. But the psychologists have overheard them, telling them how to put this thing behind them and then move forward and work for the Ghana Police Service.
Do we know how the meeting with the IGP and family of the deceased officer ended yesterday?
Well, we have been told that the meeting went successfully. The IGP engaged the family and briefed them officially on what happened. And the family, even before that, some of them heard it on the media space, and they say they have nothing to do because this is an accident that has happened. And they say they would go ahead with the burial and funeral arrangement of the deceased so that they can communicate officially also to the police administration. And if there's anything the police would do, they can do it together with the family. But we're also told that the IGP has given a firm assurance that the deceased police officer is going to have a befitting burial. The administration will ensure that any support the family needs, the police service is going to give that support to the family of the deceased so that they can bid the deceased farewell and his wife.
All right, many thanks for your time. That was Hafiz Tijani, my colleague in the Ashanti region, bringing us up to speed on an incident in Kumasi on Sunday where a police officer and his family died in a fire that razed their apartment on Sunday night. Kweku will take us to Asawasi.
Now, the Asawasi Member of Parliament, Mohammed Muntaka Mubarak, is calling for calm in his constituency following the recent misunderstanding between his camp and that of the Asawasi National Democratic Congress, the NDC constituency chairman. He wants the leadership of the party to intervene in addressing the impasse. Our Middle Belt Bureau Chief Edward Oponmafo has more in the following report.
The Asawasi NDC chairman, Faisal Dauda, and persons believed to be in the camp of the Asawasi MP, Muntaka Mubarak, have been engaging in war of words in recent weeks.
My life has been in threat since the day one that Honorable Muntaka planned to impeach me for my treasure. There was a time Honorable Muntaka, the constituency organizer, the constituency vice chairman, the constituency chairman had a meeting in his office at Ababu Post Office, the library premises, that they went and invited some bad boys and gave them a message that they should hunt the constituency deputy youth organizer, including me. They should gun me anytime, anywhere they get me.
The points are that MP, yes, didn't acknowledge our chairmanship contest on principle, which we all agreed on. We agreed that without underrating anybody's capacity to hold higher office, but for common good, everybody should maintain his positions, which we all agreed to, but the chairman and some others betrayed that confidence and trust. 2, there is no problem between MP and chairman. If there is any, it is only the chairman's inability to manage the relationship between serving the MP and then those who invested in his chairmanship contest.
But as Asawasi Member of Parliament, Muntaka Mubarak insists he has no problem with the NDC chairman for the constituency. However, says he has reported to the police to investigate criminal allegations leveled against him by the constituency chairman. Mr. Muntaka Mubarak wants the party's leadership to intervene to address the issue by applying the party's rules.
Many of you were at our Christian party, the party that we organized for the Christians. Many of you were there. All of us were there together with the chairman, and we all spoke very well. That's this fateful Sunday that I heard there was some arrest, and then that settled all this. We attended a wedding together and attended a funeral together. So I don't know where this is coming from. But like I said, I'm not going to respond to this because our party has a constitution. Our party has its rules. I listened to all the frivolous allegations. I've reported to the party, to the region, and the criminal aspect of it, which is somebody planning to kill somebody. I mean, murder is not a joke in our country. I've since reported that to the police. I hope our party would take our constitution seriously, our rules, and because a lot of the things that happened was an anti-party behavior, and our party front on that. So I hope the party would take the necessary measures to ensure that you just don't, because you see, like I said, I don't want to be seen responding. I want to keep my focus. This constituency is calm, believe me. Even the constituency secretary that you are talking about, you always check. I mean, since this thing came, you've seen a lot of people rebattering and what have you. Today, I'm having this program. I invited all the constituency executives. You saw, majority of them were here. Almost all of them were here. I mean, let me add this. After the election, the current vice chairman was the vice chairman. The secretary maintained the same secretary. The deputy secretary maintained the same secretary. The organizer maintained. The deputy organizer maintained. The youth organizer maintained. The deputy youth organizer maintained. So almost all the core executives are there. So there's this impression that is being created, oh, he's lost the council executives, that's why. No. Chairman, woman organizer are the only people that changed. And the communication officer, sorry. Even the communication officer, he's here. When we call for this, he's here. So we are doing everything to make sure that the constituency moves. But you see, you cannot mix your personal issues with constituency issues. Because, like I said, I don't want to respond. If you assault somebody and the person goes to report to the police, and the police invite you, and the person who assaulted, they told you this is a complainer, why do you go out and say there is another person who is causing your arrest?
So you heard there a report filed by City News' Middle Belt Bureau Chief Edward upon Mafo. Now, the district-level assembly election in Lower Manyakobo slated for today has been adjourned. A press release from the Electoral Commission says the election has been adjourned indefinitely. The district-level elections in the Lower Manyakobo municipality is not scheduled with the national elections due to a dispute in 2011 between the municipality and Dangme West District over 11 electoral areas created at Akuse. Two teenagers in Lower Manyakobo municipality in the eastern region last week secured an interlocutory injunction from the Koforidua High Court against today's election. According to them, the commission failed to conduct voters' registration exercise to enable them register having attained 18 years. The applicants are restraining the Electoral Commission and its agents or officers from conducting the district-level elections in the area until the final determination of the case on violation of their constitutional right to vote in the upcoming elections.
This is still the Citi Prime News on 97.3 Citi FM. Still to come, we take you to the Upper West region and bring you a report on how the lack of educational infrastructure is hampering teaching and learning at the Richau Community Senior High Technical School. We have details of that shortly. Please don't go away.
Citi Prime News at 12 midday. Update you on all the running stories and connect you to the newsmakers.
Mommy, Daddy, come. The letter came in the mail.
What are you waiting for? Open it.
OMG, Mommy, I finally got into university in Canada. I can't even believe it.
Hey, congratulations.
Vanessa, now we need to figure out your student visa.
Mommy, Daddy, Vanessa, don't you remember Asker Immigration Consulting Services, the regulated Canadian immigration company that helped us with our visitor visas to Calgary last year? Well, they also help with student visas.
Is that so? Well, then I know we'll be in safe hands with Askia. The visitor visa process was so smooth.
Let me contact them now.
Contact Askia Immigration Services on 0241 318890 or 0595 449054 to book appointments and to get assessment of documents. Askia Immigration Services on the 8th floor of the number 1 Airport Square building, Airport City.
I'll take you there.
Can I have my tom-tom?
Your passion. You have dreamt of it, planned for it, worked for it, wept for it, fought for it, and lived for it. At a critical now or never moment, you might lose focus from it. That's when you pop your tom-tom candy. Focus and breathe. Just breathe. You've got this. You have so much to breathe for. Breathe for it. with TomTom. This advert is FDA approved.
Citi Prime News at 12 midday. Update you on all the running stories and connect you to the newsmakers.
You're welcome back. Now, inadequate infrastructure coupled with lack of teaching and learning materials is impeding academic work at the Richel Community Senior High Technical School in the Wa West District of the Upper West Region. Citi News' Latif Mahama reports that both students and teachers of the school are compelled to travel over 3 kilometers on a daily basis from Richel to the school for academic work due to the lack of accommodation facilities. Authorities of the school are thus appealing to the government to intervene to alleviate their predicament. There is more in the following reports.
The Richel Community Senior High School was established in 2019 in response to the growing demand for secondary education in the Wa West District of the Upper West Region. The school serves as the only alternative for technical education in the district, especially for the less privileged, mostly from deprived communities. However, since its establishment, the Richel Community Senior High Technical School, which currently has a population of close to 300, has been operating in this rented structure. This facility serves as both administration and classroom block for the school without any accommodation for either teachers or students. The acting headmaster of the school, in a Citi News interview, bemoaned the challenges and appealed for urgent intervention.
The structure in which we are currently is a temporary one. It is meant for health training institution, but because we are in the community, we liaise with them and they say we can use it for a while. The dormitory which we are using now is also temporary. That is the library. It's meant for the library, and the guests are also staying at a structure that is meant for bank. If you look at where the structure is, the distance, people commute every day, and that is a challenge to us. And if we are able to relocate to our new site, I think it will be closer to the town, and the people can commute. For now, they are commuting because they stay in a temporary building. They commute every day, and that is giving us some kind of challenge. People come to school late sometimes, but you can't blame them because of the distance.
The Wa West District Assembly constructed this 6-unit classroom block at the permanent site of the school, but it is yet to be handed over. The Wa West District Chief Executive, Vida Dirote, speaking at a sword cutting ceremony for a 60-bed capacity dormitory block for the school, said the district is committed to uplifting the Richel Community Senior High School.
In fact, this is a heavy project that the district assembly is rolling out to support the infrastructural challenges that this school is facing. We all know that without infrastructure, the school cannot function properly. And that is why God has heard our prayers, and the support is coming from central government under the leadership of His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. He has turned his good face to the people of our West. And that is why we are getting this mansion today, 60-bed capacity girls' dormitory. It is not a small project. And we are all gathered here this morning to witness the sword cutting and the handing over of this project to the contractor.
Data from the Ghana Statistical Service indicates that the Wa West District is the most deprived in the Upper West region, with astronomical poverty levels. The Wa West District Director of Education appealed to the government to invest in education in the area to bridge the development gap.
For me, as a Director of Education, all that I'm interested is to see the dormitory here so that we'll have our students to come and sleep here and learn. I think you are all aware that education is the most important thing that we have in the country. Without education, there cannot be development. And I believe with this structure here, it's going to open up the place, and that will bring about development within Richel area.
Access to good quality education continues to be a major hindrance due to lack of infrastructure and other logistics here in the Wa West District. The construction of this 60-bed capacity girls' dormitory is therefore expected to mitigate the situation. Reporting for Citi News, My name is Latif Mahama. Wichao.
We do more stories now, and the Electricity Company of Ghana has assured of efforts to address challenges with the purchase of power onto prepaid meters in parts of the country. Residents of Manya and Yilukobo in the eastern region are the latest to face such challenges as they are stranded in their attempts to buy power due to network challenges. In an interview with Citi News, the public relations officer of ECG for the Tema region, Sechua Mensah, said they are working assiduously to deal with the issues.
Well, there's been some resolutions, but it's been on and off. So at the point we're able to sell, and then the system goes off again. But we need to make this clarification that it's not just the customers in the Kobo enclave. Most of the prepaid meters there are running on what we call the MMS. And that MMS is in other areas as well, such as Dodua, Kolebu, Makola, Roman Ridge. So all the customers in these areas have this challenge. However, admittedly, a lot more customers in the Kobo enclave are on this system. So when it happens like that, it kind of seems like a Kobo issue, but then it's not a Kobo issue. It's a systems issue. So wherever those meters are in use, we have this challenge. But on the resolution, it's been on and off. Like currently, we're able to vent at all our stations. This morning it was off for a while, but then it came back on. So it's been on and off. It's still work in progress. We hope to get to a point where there will be total resolution and will be running as smoothly as possible. I can't promise necessarily, because it's more like you are working on something, you know this is the particular fault, you are working on it, then you kind of meet another issue here and there, but you still have to resolve it anyway. So based on that, it will be quite difficult for us to say that in an hour or 2 hours or a day or two. However, the situation has improved much better than it was over the weekend. It really has. It's much better than it was. So we still hope to get to a point where, as soon as possible, this issue will be resolved.
Sechua Mensah is the public relations officer of the Electricity Company of Ghana for the Tema region.
The Lands Commission says it will from today commence the demolition of unauthorized structures on state land at Amrahia, Mimpasem and Nungwa in the Greater Accra region. According to a statement signed by its Executive Secretary James Datson, the move is aimed at recovering state land encroached upon by some unknown gunmen during the festive season in December of 2022. It explained that the said parcels of land were duly acquired by the state with compensation paid. The Lands Commission adds that it will work in close collaboration with the Ghana Police Service to commence the exercise today. Here are excerpts of the statement from the Lands Commission read by Citi News' Evans Ofuchu Manso.
The Lands Commission has received a number of reports with great contestation of encroachments on state lands within Amrahia, Mpehuasem and Nungwa Boteman in Accra by unknown armed men. The illegality started during the festive season in December 2022 and continues to occur. These parcels under threats are part of government acquisitions with compensations paid. Following a reconnaissance inspection of sites in Boteman, Amrahia and Mpehuasem, the joint team of lands administrators and police officers agreed on the urgency of a more extensive exercise to recover and protect all the encroached portions, including demolition of unauthorized structures. The Commission, with the assistance of the Ghana Police Service, officially starts the exercise on 17th January 2023 to recover and protect such sites and other state-acquired areas per Section 236 of the Land Act 2020, Act 1036. It is expected the public will offer maximum support to the Commission as it undertakes this mandate.
Except of a statement from the Land Commission announcing that it will from today start the demolition of unauthorized structures on some state land at Amrahia, Mimpasem and Nungwa here in Accra. Meanwhile, the chief of Mimpasem, a suburb of East Legon in Accra, Ni Togbo Ampao, is calling on the presidency to call the commission to order. He spoke in reaction to the demolition of an assembly hall project of Ideal College at Legon.
I have been to the Land Commission. I've sat down with the chairman, the secretary. We've sat on the round table. We talk, and I told them that the place that they wanted to claim is a family land. I want to emphasize emphatically to them, it's a family land. So those people staying there are all family. And Mr. Asibi, who is prof, the land was sold to him by my predecessors. He has got everything on the land. He has got all his documents. So why are they going there to tell us that place is what we call government land? Why? I sent land commission to court. I sent about 5 people. Some people have withdrawn. So I'm now with land commission right now.
You heard the chief of Mimpasem, a suburb of East Legon here in Accra, Ni Togbo Ampao.
Now, pensioners who have bought government bonds say they are hopeful that the extension of the expiration of the debt exchange program will give room to the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, to engage them. Now, the group has resolved to picket at the Finance Ministry on Monday, January 23, 2023, to press home their demands for the exclusion of its bonds in the debt exchange program. In a City News interview, the convener for the group, Dr. Edu Anane Enchi, says even though several attempts to meet the minister have proven futile, they are optimistic about not picketing should their meeting with the finance minister come off before the due date.
The ministry has extended the deadline. I'm sure that will also give him time within which to meet us, given the new extension that has been announced. So let's give him the chance to do that. To the 23rd is still open there. Once we have informed the police, then at least if we have to go, we don't have a problem. If something happens and there's no need to go, then that one also we haven't. We just have to tell the police we are not complaining.
So you have there Dr. Edu Ananianchi, who is the convener of the Pensioners Bondholders Group.
As part of the commemoration of this year's World Cervical Cancer Awareness Month, the Livingston Foundation has organized a free health screening exercise at La in the La Dadi Kotopong municipality of the Greater Accra region. Head of the Livingston Foundation medical team, Dr. Louisa Satekla, speaking to Citi News, advised Ghanaian women to adopt healthy lifestyle practices as well as regular health screenings to reduce their risk of contracting diseases. The screening and sensitization campaign attracted over 300 women from La and other nearby communities. The Livingston Foundation is the brainchild of reggae dancehall artist Livingston Eche Satekla, also known as Stoneboy. And that's how we end today's edition of the Citi Prime News, which has been live from our studios in Adabraka, Accra. For more news, please log on to citynewsroom.com. My name is Hawa Idrisu. I was here with
Kweku Ediama Ansa.
Michael Oboju is up next with the afternoon's edition of City Business News. Many thanks for your company. Do have a great afternoon.
City 97.3. More variety. The city is alive on 97.3.